Oregon Ducks 59, the Montana State Bobcats 13, and even that score not necessarily indicative of how the game went. That last score coming from Montana State in the last 2 minutes. It all counts, but a dominant blowout from the Ducks, just the way you would want it to sound, look, feel. And now we get to talk to a guy who was there on the pregame, knows Autzen Stadium well, a Ducks legend and former NFL star as well. Anthony Newman joins the show. Anthony, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, we're doing good. I was talking with Schultze about this right when we started the show. Game one last year, the conversations were a little bit different. And you always talk about that when you play an opponent like this, who is not on the same level as you from a personnel standpoint, it should look and it should feel a certain way. And from where I sat as a fan, it certainly seemed that it looked and felt the way it was supposed to for an opponent like this in your opener. How did you see it?
Well, I felt the same way. I mean, no disrespect to Montana State, and go back to last year. Idaho came in here, and next thing you know, it was a ball game, and we're like, okay, wait, what's going on here? We have all these 5-star players on our football team, and they got 2 stars, 3 stars, maybe 1 3-star. What's going on?
Yeah.
Today, different story. Today, Oregon did what they're supposed to do. They're not. Montana State is not in the same conversation as Oregon.
Right.
Not even close. And you saw that today. That's what you saw today. The guys were executing, offense and defense. I mean, this was a team victory. Everybody played well, even special teams.
Mm-hmm.
The kickers, the punters. So it was a good game to watch. It's a great way to start off the season. There's a lot to work on. You still got to get better because you're going to play better opponent. And, yes, it's Montana State. Oregon should do that. But they should do it regardless. I don't give a rat's who you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it should look. So it doesn't change. By playing a different opponent, no, I don't care. Okay, if I'm going to block this guy, I'm going to pancake him, whoever that is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to create these scenes where the running backs can run. So, and this is weird. I thought it was a typo. Oregon's offense, talk about balance. They ran for 253, and they passed for 253.
I'm pulling up the side by side right now, and that's what I'm reading too. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Wait, talk about balance. How do you defend that?
That's incredible. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah, the defensive coordinator going, okay, well, they pass more. No, they run more. No, it's even. So what do we do? So that was crazy.
So, Anthony, a big question for Ducks fans coming into the season was the quarterback position. The Ducks have been extremely fortunate to have their last 2 signal callers be a couple of Heisman finalists in Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel. Obviously, really tough shoes to fill. Dante Moore has played big-time college ball before, but it's been a couple years because of his transfer and his sitting behind Dylan Gabriel. And there was even some smoke in the off-season about whether there was a quarterback battle, whether there was a controversy, whether Austin Novosad had a shot in being the starter. And no disrespect to him whatsoever, but the assumption was that it was going to be Dante Moore. Today, it certainly was Dante Moore, and he looked as poised and collected. And again, we can say it as many times as we want. We know who the opponent was, but considering the situation and what they were doing, I thought you saw about as much as you could have wanted out of Dante Moore. How would you evaluate his Ducks starting debut?
Well, he looked great. He led that football team. He is the captain of this ship. I hear from receivers that he throws a great ball. It's a catchable ball. Some quarterbacks drop back and they feel like they got to just throw it, really hard, and the ball's hard, it's spinning hard, and it hits your hands and spins off. And the receivers say, no, they say, hey, he can throw a football hard, but it's catchable. Everything is catchable, and he can wing it. I mean, he has a strong arm. He has experience. But the difference with this team is that now he knows this is his offense. He knows that the coaches are going to him and talk about the situations. Hey, what do we need to do? What do you see? And also, I think he feels confident that he's not looking over his shoulder. If he has a bad game, he's not going to get pulled. He can make a mistake. So that's why he feels confident. And he's a good football player. He's a good quarterback, I should say. He can play quarterback. I mean, UCLA, they threw the young quarterback, into the wolves. I mean, come on. I mean, it was tough for him as a freshman. But now he's been in the system. He understands how it works. Everybody looks up to him, and he played well. He really did.
Let's flip over. We're talking to Anthony Newman, the former Ducks star and NFL safety. He was on the pregame show today down there at Autzen Stadium as well. Let's flip over to your side of the ball, the defense. And I thought that they were extremely solid and reliable all day long. It seemed like they didn't give up very much. There was nothing going over the top. Quarterback didn't have a lot of time to throw, and they held Montana State to 1.7 yards per carry. What stood out to you on that side of the ball from their effort, either personnel-wise or just collectively as a group?
Well, when you look at the stats, you see the guys who had the most tackles. And this right now is a great stat. You have two defensive linemen leading the team in tackles. Amari Washington, and I think it was Tatum.
And Tatum Tuioti, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. So that was unreal. Also, you look at 7 tackles for loss. So Oregon's in their backfield. And then you add 3 sacks. So that's the defensive line. And what's going on there is these guys, most of the time defensive linemen don't get a lot of tackles, but they're shedding the block. They're getting rid of the block. They call it block destruction. Let me get rid of the blocker, and make a tackle on the ball carrier. And that is huge for a linebacker and for the secondary, because they're doing all the work. I'm thinking, okay, this is an easy day for me. When you have your DBs leading the team in tackles, then you got a problem, because that running back is getting to the second to the third level. The linebackers were kind of quiet. They didn't do a whole lot, but they didn't. The reason why, because they didn't have to, because the defensive line they played really good, to be honest. I mean, all of them. I mean, they were shifting guys, rotating guys in left and right, and every one of them was playing outstanding football.
Anthony, can you dive a little bit into how the defense it looks almost less experienced than it actually is, because Oregon is replacing 18 starters on both sides of the ball coming into 2025. Yeah, they only returned 3 of the starters on defense, but they only brought in 2 transfers, looking at the list of starters on defense, in Bear Alexander and Dylan Thieneman to plug those holes. Everyone else on the roster starting on defense this year, Anthony, has had experience in this program. They're guys that got reps last year in games and have been with Oregon and understand the culture that they're trying to build. And I think that's a position that I don't think the defense has ever been in, or at least under Dan Lanning so far in his 4 years.
Well, and here's another thing. Tosh Laffoy, the defense coordinator, he talks about our defense is simple. We want our kids to fly around. We don't want them to think. If they're starting to think too much, then they slow down. Now they become a deer in headlights, and now they're trying to figure out, wait, do I have this guy or do I have that guy? And the ball snap, and the guy that they have is running right past them. That's not happening. We didn't see any broken coverages today, did we? There was nothing.
Nope.
So the defense is simple, and when it's simple, okay, you understand it. When the ball snapped, you're rolling. And you're seeing what we call in high school, at our high school at West Lynn, RP. It's called relentless pursuit to the football. You're getting everybody to the football, all 11. One guy can't fake 11 guys out. And that has nothing to do with scheme, nothing. It's just effort, relentless. Get to the ball carrier. And if you cause a fumble, okay, you're there to pick it up. It's not a missed opportunity. That's what I saw today. This team was flying around, linebackers, everybody. So if they did break tackles, they got to the second level, then the linebackers make tackles. If they got to the third level, DBs. But that didn't happen today. The D linemen were taking those running backs down. So I saw a lot of speed and quick decisions and playing fast.
Yeah, Anthony, it really feels like all aspects of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, there was a lot to like today. But there's kind of an old adage in football that teams make their most growth or you see the most changes in a team between weeks 1 and weeks 2. Dan Lanning always talks about going back to the doctor after a win or loss and figuring out the things that you need to work on and improve on. If you're part of this coaching staff, as much as there was to like this week, where do you expect to see either changes or areas of focus going into this next game against Oklahoma State?
Championship teams get better when they win football games, not when they lose football games. Because when you win a football game, you think you have arrived, and you haven't. You have a long ways to go. You have to get better. You know, the ceiling's really high. We got to climb that ladder to be the best. And so when you win a football game, you're like, oh, okay, great. You know, Yeah, that's good. A lot of times people say when you win, the mistakes are hidden. You don't find the mistakes when you win. So you have to find those mistakes. You have to correct yourself. And that's what Dan Lanning does a great job of, getting the kids ready to play at another level the next game. Hey, we were here against Montana State, but we can be better. And that's what you're going to see, for offense, for defense, for special teams, everyone on this football team, if you're playing on the scout team during practice, you have to get better. And that's championship football.
Yeah, if we know anything about Dan Lanning, there won't be any resting on their laurels after week one. Anthony Newman, we always appreciate the time and the insights. You joining us here on the Dick Hanna Dealership Postgame Scoreboard Show on the Fan Sports Network. We'll talk to you again next week, and good luck to your Westland Lions.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, take care, Anthony.
Thanks,
that is Anthony Newman, the former Ducks legend and NFL safety, joining us. You can hear him as well on the Ducks Game Day pregame show, and always with us here on the Dick Hanna Dealership Postgame Scoreboard Show.